It's not to be like the world, and not to be like the great majority of American Christians, but to be like Jesus Christ. I don't know why you're clapping. I'm talking about you.
What's wrong with you people? I'm serious.
You can't say amen, you ought to say ouch.
I had no Christian instruction whatsoever. My mum was Jewish. She married a Gentile just after the Second World War. Went to church 3 times in 22 years as a non-Christian. And each time I was incredibly bored. I'm not exaggerating. I would think to myself, if I can't sleep one night, I'll get a preacher to come and talk to me. I had a very happy childhood. I wasn't molested, wasn't beaten up. I was bullied at one stage, but looking back, I was incredibly happy. Had my own business, making as much money as I want. Had my own house, my own car, beautiful wife. We've made 1 kid. Total freedom. I was my own boss at 18 and 19 years old. So in my happiness, I had a sense of futility, and this is what came to me at about the age of 20. 10 out of 10 die. I began to think about that. And one night I looked at my wife. She'd just gone to sleep, and I thought she could die in a second. Her heart could give out. And all my material things, my house, my business, my freedom, would be futile. It would be empty. No one talked about death. It was like this huge elephant in the room. It's like the whole of humanity is lined up on a cliff. There's 1,000 people, and they're stepping off this cliff one after the other. And no one's saying, how can we get out of this line? For about 6 months, I lived in this sense of futility, not outwardly, but just inward thoughts. And I was on a surfing trip, and a young Christian guy who didn't really know what he was doing, he'd just become a Christian, explained the gospel to me. He took 6.5 hours to lead me to Christ. But I remember reading the Bible verse where Jesus said, you've heard it said by them of old, you shall not commit adultery. And I thought, well, I've never committed adultery. If there's a heaven, I'll probably make it there. And then I read the words, but I say to you, whoever looks upon a woman to lust for her has committed adultery already with her in his heart. I thought, you're kidding. God sees my thought life. It was like, that was the revelation. I don't think people understand that if God can make a brain, he can see what he's made. I thought, I'm in big trouble on Judgment Day. I'm going to end up in hell. And that's when the cross made sense. I'd heard that Jesus died on a cross. I used to pray to Jesus at night, mention him in my prayers, blah, blah, blah. But it was meaningless until I realized I was a sinner. I needed a Savior. I was condemned. And yet because of what Jesus did on the cross, I could be forgiven. I could be exonerated. My death sentence could be commuted because Jesus paid my fine, which means God could legally dismiss my case. And so I repented that night, became a Christian, 3:30 in the morning, went outside, looked up at the stars, and everything looked different. Just the absolute transformation just left me with my mouth wide open. I'd found everlasting life.
Hello, humble bees. Welcome to Tulips and Honey.
Hi, guys. I'm your co-host, Lauren, and I'm joined today by my super sweet co-host, Becca. Becca, today we are going to be releasing the Ray Comfort interview.
Yes, I'm so excited. I can't wait till I haven't even seen it, guys, so I'm really excited. I'm so curious. How did it go? Were you nervous?
Oh my goodness. I was a nervous wreck. I was so nervous. I really thought that I kept telling myself the whole morning while I was getting ready, like, who do I think I am that I'm doing this? What on earth possessed me to think that this was a good idea?
I think that every morning.
Who do I think I am?
On this podcast.
Why am I doing this? This is crazy.
I'm not fit for this.
But I felt like even whenever I sent the email over asking him to come on the program and interview about his new book, Faith is for Weak People, the top 20 objections to the gospel, I felt like first of all, that he would never see it and it would never be something that would ever happen. And I would not have sent it. I would never have had the audacity to send it if I thought that he was going to actually join me on the program. Because I'm thinking, like, as I'm putting this together, I should not be wasting this man's time. Like, this isn't something that I should be doing. Yeah, it was really a hard morning for me, honestly. Like, I think probably if I hadn't already mentioned it to everybody, which is why I did, I went on social media as soon as I got the message, because I knew I would back out if I didn't. Like, if I didn't have a reason, I would have backed out 100%. I'm a big old chicken. I have all kinds of anxiety and social anxiety.
Seriously. I know. Do you want to tell the listeners about our Theo fangirling?
Yes. Yes. Instead of fangirling, we call it Theo girling, because we're fangirling over theological giants. And definitely Ray Comfort has always been one of those heroes of the faith for me. Like, his videos are so uplifting. They're so encouraging. But, like, that's a video where you assume that these guys have had to do several recordings. When you're with him live, it's not like you're talking to Ray Comfort, the, world-renowned evangelist. You're just talking to a brother in Christ, and he makes you so comfortable. So all those nerves leading up to the minute he sat down, he was just a normal human being. He was just a man, and he's so honest in his books and in his movies about his fear and about how hard things are for him to evangelize. It you can kind of feel the humanity a little bit, but it's still Ray Comfort of Living Waters. Like, it was still this big thing to me. And so sitting down with him and just chatting with him, it was like instantly comfortable. And he just made it.
Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah.
That's such a blessing.
Yeah. We even talked about, and you guys will hear in the interview. And also, if you want to watch the interview, we are going to publish it on YouTube, where you can actually see the full thing, talking head style and not just audio. But we'll also have it here in just a minute. We'll play it for you guys. And he talks to me a little bit about how he's able to stay humble. It's one of the questions that you wonderful, amazing listeners sent in to us through social media. Thank you guys for all those awesome questions. And one of the questions was, how do you stay humble? And his first after telling a really funny joke, no spoilers, I won't tell you the funny joke, you'll have to listen. But after telling a funny joke, he said, no, I know who I am. I know what I am. I know I'm a goof. I'm a klutz. I'm clumsy. And he kind of detailed his day and how he constantly spills things and trips or knocks things over, and just the humanity of his honesty made me instantly comfortable talking to him. So everything calmed down as soon as he was there. But leading up to it, I was just like, I would rather run away to Mexico right now than do this interview. And it's sad, because I know there's a lot of people that are listening to this and they're like, man, I would love the opportunity to talk to Ray Comfort. And I think there's probably a lot of people that would have done a way better job, and they would have been very, very thankful. My brain just is, it's so flawed that the idea of that, it wasn't something that I was like, I don't even know, like, I was excited in that, like, this is something that's really cool to get to do. But leading up to it, there was no excitement. There was just terror and the realization that I did not deserve to be sitting in that seat talking to him and taking his time.
Aww.
Because he's got lost people to reach, right? Like, and I'm not a lost person. I'm not a lost people. I've been saved. I don't need to take up his time. His time would be better used sharing the gospel, but he didn't think that way. He felt like his time could be used to encourage me, and he did. He was so encouraging. And he was so kind to me about it, like telling me what an honor it was to be on the program with me. And I'm just like dying. It's not an honor for you to be on my tiny little podcast, but it is amazing if you would even give me 15 seconds. And he felt like it was important enough to come on and encourage me and talk to me about his books. He stayed on for twice as long as he originally had planned. Even whenever I tried to let him out of it, I was like, I know you've got to go. He was like, no, that's okay. I'm good staying. So just unbelievably kind. This is really amazing to me that he was so kind, loving enough to stay on to talk to me. And he talked to Kaylee. Very sweet to Kaylee. He remembered her from the email that.
No way.
Yeah, he did.
That's so cool.
And he remembered sending her a gift and her story about how she shared the gospel. He encouraged her to, and invited her up to get a tour of his studio. And he said
where's the studio at again?
It's in California.
Okay, yeah.
Southern California, I think. So yeah, he said he would give her a tour if she came up, and that was really sweet. So yeah, just incredibly kind human being. It was really surprising to me afterwards. I was on Twitter and I noticed that like Justin Peters, he had just been up there talking to Ray Comfort and doing some videos. Well, apparently he had taken a little bit of heat because there's been a few times where Ray Comfort was on programs with people that weren't, I don't know, maybe weren't vetted fully enough, but Ray Comfort, he'll go share the gospel with anyone. He doesn't care.
Right. Yeah.
So he's not going on like approving of certain people, but I mean, if there's a group of people that'll hear him teach the gospel, he'll do it. Because there was some people who were upset about that. And Justin Peters actually, with Ray Comfort's permission, posted a conversation they had about being more careful about whose show you go on. And I was really fascinated by that because they did vet me. They vetted me before he came on the program. So he did take that advice from Justin Peters. Yeah, they asked for our email and for like all of my social media and stuff so that they can make sure that I wasn't like a wacko. They must have decided that we were okay and legit because we made it. Yeah, we made it through the vetting process. But I did want to just say that to any of our listeners that were aware of that situation with Justin Peters, that he did tell Justin Peters that he was going to be more careful vetting the shows that he went on, and he kept his word because they did vet me before he came on the program. So I thought that was kind of neat, really fascinating to see that kind of stuff happen. Yeah, really, really cool. And so I guess, without further ado, we'll go ahead and play the clip now. It's about 30 minutes interview, and then on the other side of the interview, we'll come back with our silly questions and our word of the day and all that good stuff.
Yay. Yes.
So you guys enjoy. But welcome to the program, Ray Comfort. Thank you so much for joining me.
Well, it's an honor and a pleasure. Thank you.
The honor is all mine. It is so great to meet you. I've been very, very blessed by your ministry. So you are a best-selling author of 80 books. Is that right? Over 80 books?
Yeah, over 80.
Wow. Oh my goodness. Including the one we're going to talk about today, Faith is for Weak People, answering the top 20 objections to the gospel. So my first question for you, we'll just jump right in, is what about these 20 objections were you concerned enough about to make an entire book for?
Why?
Yeah.
Well, John the Baptist, his ministry was to lower every mountain and raise every valley, make straight the path of the Lord. And the reason for that is that there are obstacles that stop people coming to Christ. There's mountains such as why is there suffering, and valleys of depression and suicide and all these terrible things that are happening around us. And so I want to fill those in. I want to make the path straight to the gospel, and that's the point of the book. Evolve into a frog. Okay, I just dealt with it.
Oh, great. Okay, so I'm collecting bloopers for a blooper reel, and I'm probably going to keep that one right there for the blooper reel. That was great. I'm gonna borrow that line if I ever have a little tickle.
Yeah, tadpole.
Tadpole. I like it.
Not a full frog.
It's growing though, huh?
Uh-huh.
Okay, so the 20 objections. One of the things I love about this book is you actually have questions at the end of the chapters to help really engage the mind and really work through all the things that you discuss. So this book is a little different than a lot of the books that you've produced in the past, whereas it's almost like a workbook. So did you design this for groups to study, individuals, and what age group were you aiming at here?
Well, probably about 8 to 107. If someone can share the gospel, that's wonderful, and anyone can share the gospel. It doesn't take skill to scatter seed. The quality is in the seed and not in the sower. So a skilled farmer can put his hand in the sack and very skillfully toss that seed, and it's still going to bring forth fruit. Little kid, not knowing what he's doing, puts his hand in the sack and just throws it away. It's going to still bring the same fruit. And the gospel is a quality seed, and if we learn how to sow it correctly, just toss that seed in the right direction, it'll bring forth fruit. Also, that book, the whole book is written in a New Zealand accent, which is kind of unique among books.
That's true. I was kind of disappointed. I got the audio book and it was an English accent, not British, but like an American. I was like, oh, come on. What are you guys doing, Audible? You got to at least use someone from New Zealand.
Yeah, right.
Great. You're losing your accent a little bit, though. You've been here in America for how long?
Been living in Southern California for 31 years was just like totally rad, dude.
That one was a little bit before my birth, but we'll allow it. That's okay.
But I
Totally
love living in Southern California because it's great to see what you're breathing and to wake up in the morning and hear the birds coughing. It's unique.
Yes, we drove through California one time on the way to an assignment in Washington, and it's not fog, it's smog.
Smog and fog. And we get earthquakes, and we've got gang problems, and we've got lots of cars and freeways, and we keep spreading that myth to stop people coming over here because the weather's so good.
Is it working?
No. There are millions and millions of people, and we don't have winter. I wore shorts right through winter.
No way.
It's just wonderful.
Oh my goodness, that is wonderful.
Sorry
It snowed here this week.
It did? Oh, yeah.
So I wouldn't mind some shorts weather. That'd be kind of nice. That's really cool. Have you ever been up to the redwoods, those really great big trees?
Yes. Yeah, they're wonderful.
Yeah, it's pretty neat.
Just see the glory of God and things like that. It's just amazing.
Yeah, it's really, really neat to be up there where you can look up and not see the end of a tree. I didn't know things like that existed.
Sounds like Grimm's fairy tale or something.
Yes, it does. Oh my goodness, it really, really does. You are so right. So besides this book, you're also coming out. There's a new movie about to come out. I've been watching the trailers. I'm really excited. It's What Happened to the Dinosaurs. So Can you tell the listeners a little bit about this upcoming movie?
Yeah, we found out what happened to the dinosaur. Noah got a hankering for hamburger. He ate the last two. And so that's why the dinosaur disappeared.
I bet you Ken Ham really likes that joke right there.
He hasn't heard it yet. But Ham is a good. He's a good guy. We're good friends. We text each other all the time. But anything to do with dinosaurs is tremendously fascinating. And most people don't realize that the Bible actually speaks almost certainly of the dinosaur, the biggest creature God's ever made. It's got a tail like a cedar. It's herbivorous. And so when you see this biggest creature that God has ever made, and its strength and it's in its loins, and its bones are like bars of bronze, and it can only be the dinosaur. Some thought it was the hippopotamus, some Bible commentators, but I've noticed a hippopotamus doesn't have a tail like a tree. It's more like a twig. So that eliminates that. But it's a fascinating subject, and it's one that I leapt off. I love springboards for the gospel, and that's what I did. Go to local college, interview people, and say, what do you think happened to the dinosaur? And there's some funny answers.
I'm looking forward to that. I love dinosaurs. It's one of my favorite topics. So I think that
get a pet one if they come back.
I don't know about a pet one, but I have some fossils that I like to keep put way far away out of reach. We've got a dog, Sam, your dog. I love seeing you with your dog. My dog, anytime she gets near fossils, she thinks that they're chew toys. So
yeah, let a fossil.
She's pet enough. Yeah,
let a pack of dogs in a museum, and they could create havoc.
I think about that every time I see a big giant dinosaur fossil. That looks like a treat for a dog. But I'm glad God allowed them to stay around so we could see the fossils at least. Yes. And it's really cool in your book. You give springboards in almost all of the chapters to addressing these issues. And I think that's really cool. One of the things I love about that is it brings it right back to the gospel. So what do you think is the reason why when we're sharing the gospel with people, we're evangelizing, why do they like to go into all these different rabbit holes? Because it seems like as soon as you get into the law, people are, they're right into a rabbit hole as quick as they can get it.
Well, you got to recognize rabbit holes and cut them off. People don't like the light. The Bible says that men love darkness rather than light. Neither will they come to the light, lest they be exposed. And whereas Christians know that the light is coming on Judgment Day, so we have to be bold and take the light to them. And I liken it to a waitress in a restaurant. If you're like a couple of businessmen are talking, three-piece suits, they got this, briefcases. They're obviously talking about something incredibly important. Waitress comes along and says, what would you like to eat? She doesn't say, excuse me. She just butts into that conversation because she knows she has something they want. They're there for food. And so that's why she's bold. And we know this world doesn't want to die. They would do anything to live forever. And they don't realize the issues that are at stake. So we've got what we know they want, the bread of life. So we've got to be bold. And so the way to be bold is to make sure you address the conscience and not the intellect. If you continue in the area of apologetics addressing the intellect, you're going to get contention. They're going to argue about the existence of God, hypocrites in the church, the issue of suffering, and all these issues. And the issue is at hand is that they're guilty sinners, and if death seizes upon them, they're damned forever. And that's a horror. So you have to go immediately, like Jesus did, to the conscience. When the rich young ruler came running to him and said, "Good master, what shall I do to inherit eternal life?" He said, "There's none good but God." And he says, "You know the commandments." Paul did the same thing in Romans chapter 2. And so it's essential to cut to the chase, as they say.
Yeah, I love that. I was in the church for over a decade without ever understanding the law and never even having heard it. Like I didn't understand why Jesus even came and needed to die. But the first time somebody brought the law to bear before me, I knew instantly I was in trouble. I was like, yeah, I love my sin. I'm definitely not a Christian. So it was that actually brought me to repentance for sure. So I love that your whole ministry is really about making sure that you don't fall into rabbit holes, stick to the gospel. I think it really builds our pride up if we can argue well. I struggle with that. I love to argue. I love to debate. But it doesn't do any good if we don't get to the gospel. So I really love the focus of that, especially in this book. Each chapter brings it back to that. And then the questions tend to have to do with scripture too. So it can also help with scripture memorization and stuff. So that's really, really cool.
I haven't seen the whole movie, but because it's got some bad bits in it. But an Indiana Jones movie, it could be Raiders of the Lost Ark or something like that. It's got a famous scene in it that's terrible, but it's wonderful. Indiana Jones comes out of somewhere. He's in this Middle Eastern city, and there's a guy with a sword in front of him that wants to kill him. And the guy's very fancy with the sword. He's going... Indiana Jones lets him do that for about 20 seconds and gets out a gun and goes, and it's all over. He just shoots the guy down, he goes, and you think, oh, the gun is better than the sword. So when sinners come to us and do their little revolution, we've got 10 cannons that we bring out, those commandments, and just go, then it blows them away. They've got no answer to the law. It's given to stop every mouth and leave the whole world guilty before God. And so it's essential that we imitate what Jesus did, imitate what Paul did. Otherwise, we'll be sword fighting and get nowhere. The idea with a sword fight is to beat the opponent. And so you've got to get the sword and stop clashing around and go for the heart. And the heart of the matter is this person's state before God. They've sinned against him. They're under his wrath. Every time they sin, they store up wrath. God's provided a Savior so they can have everlasting life. So we've got to get to the gospel and share it with them. And so many I witnessed to, at the end, I've told them the heaviest things, and they say, well, thank you so much. This has been illuminating. And what happens during that process is you start off and they think this guy's trying to proselytize me. But once they see their danger, they see my motive isn't to proselytize. My motive is because I love them and I'm concerned for them. And that dawns on them, and they suddenly become congenial and responsive to the gospel and responsive to me as a person. One thing I love doing, let me get it out of my pocket. I carry these everywhere. That's an In-N-Out burger card.
Oh, yeah.
$5 card. In Southern California, In-N-Out burgers, you know, you just salivate. They're really nice. We're looking forward to have eternal salivation. I carry them, and I go up to people in a local college and I say, would you like to come on camera? Our YouTube channel's got 86 million views. I want to know if you think there's an afterlife. And people say, oh, I don't know, I'm shy. I say, come on, you can do it. No, I'd rather not. I say, I'll give you an In-N-Out card, $5 card for lunch if you'll do it. And they say, no, I'd rather not. And then I say, we'll have the card anyway.
Oh.
And people go, what? Because these are non-Christians. Us Christians are always giving each other gifts. Yeah. But when it comes to a non-Christian, that blows them away. And so many people say, oh, that is so kind of you. And I look forward to people turning me down so I can show the love of God. And they get a little card that comes with it with a picture of Sam on it.
Oh, I love that. I love that.
And so I'm going to go and I'm going to subscribe and watch what you do. And it's a great way. The scriptures say, by your well-doing, you put to silence the ignorance of foolish men. Let your light so shine before men, they may see your good works and glorify your Father which is in heaven. So giving non-Christians gifts for no reason is a wonderful testimony to the gospel.
Yeah, that is great. I love that. Thank you for explaining that too. I hope that that's something that'll encourage the listeners. I did ask my listeners, I let them know that you were coming on the program, and I asked them if there was any questions that they would want to ask. So if you're up for it, if you're game, maybe we could do a quick lightning round with some of these. All right. Okay. So
let's get struck by lightning.
There you go. A knock on wood real quick. No, I'm just kidding. So the first question actually came from me, and this is a question I like to ask pretty much everybody I meet. Tells a lot about the person that I'm meeting. Do you put pineapple on pizza?
Oh, yes.
Oh, geez. Oh, no. I'll pray for you, brother. It's okay. I'll pray for you.
Yeah, pineapple on pizza. That's from Hawaii. It's a Hawaiian pizza. I actually like sweet and sour stuff. There's a contrast. It's like law and grace. And by not putting pineapple on pizza, you're showing the shallowness of your spirituality.
Oh, man. I was just fixing to tell you that I was going to set you aside in that heretic group of the pineapples on pizza, but now I guess I'll keep that.
You need to repent.
Okay, I'll work. I've never even actually tried it. I don't like the way it smells, but so.
Eat it. You don't smell it. You eat it. This is a new diet. A smell diet.
If I ever do eat pineapple pizza, I'll be sure to send you my opinion of it. But the next question that I got actually is from a friend of the blog and a listener who came out of the Catholic Church, who's saved at the Catholic Church, and he asked me to tell you thank you for your steadfast stance against ecumenism. And his question is, do you get any pressure from other evangelicals to back off of sharing the gospel with Catholics?
Sometimes, especially in comments, how dare you Catholic hater, but I love Catholics. I love homosexuals. I love adulterers and fornicators and liars and thieves and even murderers, enough to tell them that God can forgive their sins. So when someone says, I'm a Catholic, but I'm not born again, I say, well, Jesus said you've got to be born again, so let's get you born again.
Yeah.
And so I'm not preaching against Catholicism, although I can understand why people are upset with thousands of pedophile priests. But in the Protestant church, you've got evangelists with bottomless collection bags. And so we see hypocrisy everywhere. And I just say, hey, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. It's an old saying. It means when you're tipping the old bathwater out of the two-story window, like they used to do many years ago, don't toss the baby. So there's a lot of dirty water out there in religion, but there's substance. There's a baby there, and the baby is presented through the gospel. So I meet a Catholic, I share the gospel with them, and I say, please read your Bible, and it'll show you the truth. So the way to show someone that they're crooked is give them a straight ruler, and the ruler shows the crooked. And once they see the gospel, they'll say, man, I've been duped all these years.
Yeah, a lot of times they're just really thankful for the explanation too. So I love that. I think that's great. The next question I got is, what do you think is a false teaching in the church today that's not being addressed well enough?
I don't know what it is, because it's just never addressed.
That's a good answer. Good answer.
Yeah.
Next, when was the last time you visited New Zealand, and how are things going there spiritually?
Boy, I've been back 14 times. The last time was about 10 or 11 years ago. My mum and dad are now passed on. My brother lives in Australia. I've got a sister in New Zealand. But my city was destroyed by an earthquake, and they recently had a mass shooting in the city that I'm from. So I've got no desire to go back. I've kind of got used to American food, pizza with pineapple on sometimes. And
they don't have that there?
Yeah, I'm sure they do. America has domiciled so many countries through the power of television. America Americanized New Zealand many years ago, which I think is fine. Sometimes.
Some of it, yeah. the non-Joel Osteen side of it's great.
Yes.
So this question is in regard to your Banana Man book and the movie that goes along with it. I think it's titled The Fool, right?
Yes.
So that really was probably my favorite thing that you've done so far, because I've gotten somehow the atheists, if you talk about creationism, they find you, and they have, and I've got like Reddit threads about my podcast and my blog, which is so weird to me because I'm so insignificant. I don't know why they would want to address it. So that movie and the book both really encouraged me so much. So thank you for that. And this question is, they're curious if you've heard from anyone that's seen the movie or read the book that has been saved or started on questioning atheism.
Boy, I don't know. There are lots of comments on the video. I can't think of anybody, but I do meet people that have got saved through the ministry, which is wonderful. I can't save a soul. I'm just planting seed. God does the saving. And some people say to me, how many people got? I just read the other day, some guy writes and he says, 2 million people saved under my ministry. And I thought, wow, how does he have access to the book of She must have sort of access to it that I don't. I haven't got a clue who's come to Christ through the preaching of the gospel, but it's the preaching of the gospel that's the power of God to salvation, and God speaks through donkeys. And I've been honored to preach the gospel, and salvation is up to him, not me.
That's really good. That leads right into the next question. How do you stay humble with such a big ministry?
I stay away from mirrors because whenever I see myself, it just puffs me up.
I'll try to take that advice.
I know what I am. I'm a nobody from nowhere that has nothing but a love for God. And I don't dare even get slightly conceited. And, there's something worse than pride. It's conceit. And it conceals itself within your heart. It's the secret kissing of the hand. Yeah. And I say, Lord, take me if I'm going to stumble and discredit you in any way. So I know what I am. I'm a doofus. I'm a klutz. If there's a glass of milk anywhere, I'll spill it within seconds. You can be absolutely certain. You ask my staff. They've got bruising just because I walked up to them and accidentally tripped over and hit them with something. And it happens almost every day. So that keeps me walking with a humble heart. Seriously.
It makes me feel better about myself because that's literally my whole entire day you just described there. So maybe that's why God allows us to be so very clumsy. Definitely does keep humble. I just have a couple of more questions. I know I'm keeping you a little bit long. So
no, it's okay. I'm quite happy.
Are you sure? Okay. Well, thank you so much for all of your time. Oh my goodness. I'll just read a couple more from this, and then I have a special question that's going to come from my daughter over here. She's been waiting very patiently with her Living Waters hat on to ask you a quick question. So, do you think women should evangelize in public with a partner, and is it safe for them to do it alone?
Well, they should be married, not a partner.
Preferably a marriage. Yeah.
Oh, yes, women should go into all the world and preach the gospel to every creature. Preach the word, be instant, out of season, isn't just for men. You see the woman at the well, she ran back and the whole village came to Christ because of her. Did she speak to more than one at once? I would say so. Yeah. People say, women shouldn't open their preach. Well, I guarantee she walked up to a group of a dozen men that are yapping there and said, come and meet him who told me all I did. Yeah. And so she testified to Christ. So I love it when women are sharing the gospel 1-to-1 or 1-to-10 or 1-to-100.
Oh, that's a really good biblical example. I love that. Okay. So this is the last question, then I'll bring my daughter over here. Do you have any advice for how to grow your love for the lost?
Yeah. Another word for evangelism is love. And meditate on hell. I am just daily crying out to God in a sense of horror that people are dying without Christ. I mean, I imagine myself facing death without the Savior, and I can't tell you the horror that grips my heart as I imagine that. It's like standing on a plane 10,000 feet up without a parachute and looking down. It takes your breath away. And then someone gives you a parachute and you go, oh, I'm going to hit the ground, not at 120 miles an hour on my face, but 5 miles an hour on my feet. I'm saved. So my fear is in direct proportion to my faith. If I totally trust the parachute, no fear. And that's how I feel about death. And as I think about my own mortality, I think about unsaved people. And, often every day I go to the local college twice with Sam on my bike. And I approach people and say, we'd like to do an interview. I ask people if they think there's an afterlife. Do you think there's an afterlife? And they say, yeah. I said, do you think about it much? And they say, no. I say, why not? And they say, because it's so scary. Mm-hmm. And that breaks my heart. And I say, look, do you think there's an answer to death? And they say, no. So, well, you must live a helpless existence. You're like someone standing on a freeway because they say death is inevitable. When there's an 18-wheeler heading for you at 60 miles an hour, 100 yards away, and you say, oh, it's inevitable. No, you wouldn't. You get off the road. And I said, there's something you can do about the vehicle of death that's heading to you. The God that created you has provided a Savior so you can escape death. And when they hear that, there's just such a relief. And so many of them are suicidal. And this generation has been left without hope. They've got no hope in their death. And so I've got a little booklet called How to Be Free from Suicide. I can't remember what it is. It's called You're Not Alone. It's a little book that I give people. I'm so grateful to have that because there's so many after interviews who have been confident and, and I say, do you have suicidal thoughts? And they say all the time. And that breaks my heart to think there's a whole generation out there. So meditate on the fate of the ungodly. Think about it. And think about your own fears and how pathetic and insignificant they are compared to the fate of the ungodly.
Yeah, that really is the only thing that pushes me past the fear of talking to people, because I'm very an anxious person anyways, and so I have a hard time. That's why I love reading your books and listening to what you have to say. Is you're very honest about how fearful it is to do it, but that you do it anyways, and it's that extra push of thinking about this is an individual made in the image of God, and they have an eternity, and I'm just going to walk right by them. Gosh, that sounds like the most hateful thing I could possibly do.
It's true.
So it's really been a blessing to get to see your perspective. And it's easy to look at your ministry and think, well, he must just be braver than me. But you've done a really good job of making sure that nobody can confuse that for what's actually happening. So it's very encouraging for us. So
think of the word encourage. The word encourage means put courage in. So that's what I want to do. I want to encourage Christians, put that courage in. Another word for courage is faith. If you trust God, then you'll have courage. You're like David, who runs at Goliath. And we don't just have one stone. We have those 10 cannons to get Goliath down.
It's a lot better than the sling.
Yes.
A cannon. So I'm sure you get a lot of emails and everything. So I'm going to tell you it's okay if you don't really remember what I'm about to tell you. But a while back, I sent an email to Living Waters letting you know that my daughter, who's been watching your channel, your YouTube channel, since she was 6, she's been sharing the gospel with anyone who will listen. And at one point we were at a store. She found a little girl. She started to talk to the little girl, brought her through. It was adorable. Actually asking her, like, have you ever told a lie? And the little girl, she's so small, and she was like, yeah, I've lied. You know, I lied about this. And, oh, well, have you ever hated anyone? She's like, sometimes I hate my brother. He's really annoying. It was so precious.
Wow.
But there were adults everywhere, and they all stopped to listen to this really sweet conversation. So I sent an email assuming you would never see it, but that whoever read it would maybe be encouraged. And they sent it on to you, and you responded and sent her a gift. And so she wants to thank you really quick for that gift and also ask you a quick question. So you ready to come over here real quick? Yeah.
What's her name?
Her name is Kaylee.
And I remember that email.
Huh?
I remember that email.
He remembers that email. You want to come over here? There you go.
Hi there, Mr. Ray. Thank you so much for my gift.
Hey, Katie, squat down a little. Oh, you can wear a hat, Living Waters hat.
Yes, sir.
Very cool.
It was such a blessing to me since you sent me that gift.
Well, it was so encouraging to hear that you had the love to be concerned for that little girl, and that you spoke up and you did the right thing and you went through the commandments and preached the cross. That's absolutely wonderful. And the hat's probably a little big for you. See if we can shrink the hat or make your head bigger.
Yeah,
You'll grow into
we'll
it.
try. Thank
Well, nice to see you. And I see you got a little book I sent you too.
Yes, sir. It's very nice to see you, too.
Do you have a question for Ray?
Oh, hang on. But one moment. One day you might like to come to California, and we'll show you around the ministry and show you our studio and all the funny things that we've got around here. People do tours regularly. So if you're ever over here, come with Mum and do a tour, and we'll look after you.
Thank you so much.
Are you excited? Does this sound like fun?
Uh-huh.
Okay.
So you have a question?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir.
I can handle that. This is California.
Will you make more Mr. Nice Guy videos, please? I love that so much.
Yeah, the cartoonist did a wonderful job. There's a huge amount of work in doing cartoons like that, especially animated cartoons. When they do movies, they cost literally hundreds of millions of dollars and take thousands of hours to make animations. So even the little ones like we do are very, very time consuming, but that is a really good idea. More little animations.
Thank you. That's a lot of money.
Yes, it certainly is.
You can come back.
Bye.
Oh,
Bye.
I took your hat with me. I'm sorry. There you go.
Just going to take it here with you.
Thank you so much, Ray. That was just such a tremendous blessing to her. She's been extremely encouraged by it. It really bolstered her to continue in that. And so it's out of the mouth of babes. You know, she's so much bolder than I am, and it encourages the whole family to see her do that. And she's been very blessed by all of your videos. So thank you so much for everything that you do. I know I speak for all of my listeners and my readers when I say that we're all very thankful for your whole team. I know it's a whole team effort, and we appreciate all of your ministry. What a tremendous blessing you've been to all of us. So thank you for joining me also and spending so much time with me. Oh my goodness, I'm sorry I took up so much of your day.
No, it's okay. It was an absolute joy and an honor. Great to meet you, and especially your daughter.
It was such a blessing to meet you, sir. You have a great day. Oh, one more question. I'm so sorry. Is there anything specific we can be praying for you in the ministry?
Yes, yeah. Our YouTube channel's only got 86 million views, and that annoys me because there are billions of people on the earth. And the Apostle Paul would go crazy if he knew what we had. He was writing a letter in the dark or dictating a letter, and we just go, we can reach millions of people with the biblical gospel. So I've been crying out to God to really get this into different languages and reach literally billions with the gospel, not just millions. And it's nothing too hard for God, so please pray about that.
Absolutely. We sure will, sir. Thank you so much again. God bless you.
Okay. God bless.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay, so that was the interview with Ray Comfort. I just want to thank Living Waters and Ray Comfort again for all of the time that they gave us, for being so incredibly gracious to come on our podcast and to talk to us about his book, Faith is for Weak People, the top 20 most common objections to sharing the gospel. And it's at Amazon. You can find it at Living Waters. I definitely recommend this book for youth groups, for evangelist classes. Pretty much anyone can read this book, kind of like he says in the interview, from 8 to 108. It's not designed to be like too hard. And he goes through each chapter as he's going through these objections. He tells a personal story. And so you're actually hearing his heart for the lost, but you're also hearing how hard it is for him to break out of that fear. And even though he's world renowned for doing this, and he's traveled so many countries to share the gospel, it's still hard for him every single time. It's really comforting to hear that. Like, I was comforted by comfort.
Like I know I was going to say, like, Ray comforting.
It was Ray comforting. I like that. That needs to be a meme.
Yes. Was it Ray comforting?
It was Ray comforting.
Comforting.
So, yes, that was really comforting to hear. It was really, really gracious for him to come on. I do recommend just pretty much every single book that he's got is going to be really helpful.
How many books does he have?
Over 80. He's a best-selling author of over 80. And in case anybody was wondering, Ray Comfort doesn't make money off of his books. The sales go to his ministry, which goes to producing the movies. So he lives in the same tiny house, tiny house that he's always lived in. He doesn't even have a car. He has a bicycle. He rides his bike. His wife has a car.
Wow.
He doesn't. He rides his bike everywhere he goes. And if it's bad weather, somebody comes and gets him from the ministry. So, yeah. And so he's a great example. If you look at Joel Osteen, Joyce Myers, the reason they have that much money is not actually because of their ministry. It's because of their book sales. Like, Joel Osteen has $75 million in book sales. Like, that's why he is a millionaire. He keeps that money. And he does talk against the prosperity gospel. And he doesn't hold any punches. He talks against all of the heresies of today. He's very straightforward about Catholicism, Mormonism, all of the cults. He's honest about homosexuality, about feminism. Like, he's just biblically sound all the time. So I think that's really important. I love that about his ministry. He tends to be surrounded by reformed people, whether or not he would consider himself reformed. I know that a lot of the people in his ministry are reformed. And then, of course, most of the people that he surrounds himself with are. So really, really cool. So what is your favorite? Like, have you seen any of his movies? His movies are my favorite. But
yeah, I know. I used to love watching his show.
Oh my gosh, that's what I was going to say.
That used to be on TVN with Kirk Cameron.
Oh, Way of the Master. Way of the Master.
Way of the Master. Yeah, it was always my favorite.
They just released the 5th season of Way of the Master. The newest season is out now.
That's awesome.
But he has on, it's actually, they've got it on a podcast, and of course they've got it on YouTube, Way of the Master, and then The Comfort Zone. Those are
that's cute.
Yeah,
That's
so
awesome.
those 2 shows are like, I think they're like 30 minutes a piece, but my favorite thing is actually the bloopers from those
really?
shows. If you guys are ever in a bad mood, go find the Comfort Zone or On the Box bloopers, especially On the Box, because that was like when the ministry was like little, like they were just barely on YouTube at that point, and it's hilarious stuff. It's just fantastic. Yeah, I love it. So,
which brings us to our next segment,
shenanigans.
Shenanigans.
I need a shenanigans sound. Like,
yes,
you need to put some special music in for shenanigans.
Shenanigans.
So, do you have a?
I do have a question for you.
Oh, cool. Okay.
What movie can you watch over and over without ever getting tired of?
Oh, you're gonna love this.
Yes.
Okay. So,
wait, is it a 90s movie?
Yeah.
Okay.
Of course. Well, there's a few movies that I can watch over and over again without ever getting tired of, but like most of them I have to be in the mood for. But there is one movie that I can watch over and over again no matter what mood I'm in, and that's Son-in-Law.
Oh, I love Son-in-Law. Yes, we were talking about this. I need to buy that because it's my favorite Thanksgiving movie.
Oh yeah, I love it. I love that.
And we're both huge Pauly Shore fans.
Yep.
So we're hoping we can get him on the podcast, and we will share the gospel with him.
Yes, that's a good idea.
And just encourage him that how much we loved his content back in the 90s.
So what movie can you watch over and over again?
Oh, my favorite to watch over and over again is Ever After.
Oh, really?
With Drew Barrymore.
Yeah.
I watch it every year.
Oh, so I love that movie.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of
my
a funny
favorite
movie.
Cinderella movie.
Yes.
Because it's so different.
It is.
It's more
and
realistic.
she's such a great character. Like, she doesn't really need to be saved. And they do funny tropes. You know, like she saves him a couple of times, and they kind of actually make fun of it. I think it's really cute.
I like it. I like it a lot.
Yeah. It's not super feminist.
Yeah.
Like today.
I don't like that.
It's like I don't like that. That's not like this movie at all.
Yeah.
Like,
I remember
she's a
that.
strong character.
It's got one of the famous inventors in it too, right? Like he's
Leonardo da Vinci, which is not possible with the time frame that they're going with. I looked into that. I was like, I looked into all those things.
That's so funny.
I still love it. He's technically the godmother or whatever, or the fairy godmother, kind of. Yeah. It's so cute. Everything they put together. Like,
I think it's
love
cute too.
The cinematography, the Just Breathe scene. Like,
yes, I like that. Yep.
I
like everything
super
about
funny.
It. It's way more realistic. I like it too.
And they don't make movies like that anymore. You never see a movie like that out in theaters.
No.
And they've got to have like a huge trailer now. They have to have the budget. They have to stick to formula, and it's so sad now. So
that's why she's a little different. I like it. Very cool.
Now I'm watching all the Halloween movies. So last night I started Edward Scissorhands.
Oh wow, neat! Yeah. Oh my goodness, I haven't seen that movie in forever.
I know. Yeah, I was starting it. I also have Casper and Hocus Pocus to come up with.
Oh, fun. Okay, that's cute. I always loved Casper whenever I was growing up.
I love this soundtrack. I don't know if anybody knows, but James Horner, I think is his name, the composer. He also did I think he did Titanic.
Oh wow.
He's done it's so beautiful, his music, and to Casper it's amazing, and it's so sad because it's I don't know, in the 90s we went to see it.
Yeah,
it was huge in the 90s. Yeah,
they had a cartoon of it for a little while too.
Yeah, they did. I forgot about that. And you remember Beetlejuice?
Yes.
We had such great stuff back in the 90s.
I don't know what they did. They screwed it up.
I don't know. Yeah. I don't know what kids watch now.
Why I love Edward Scissorhands. Edward Scissorhands? Nope.
Scissorhands. Yep. We're gonna make a ham scissors.
Wow. this really escalated quickly. So anyways, my question for you.
You can delete a lot of that. Feel free to chop a lot of that out.
It needs to stay. It's got to stay in there for no reason. Okay, so I was thinking about, while we were talking, 8 different questions.
You do this every time. I don't know how she does this. I have to look up questions.
Well, it reminded me while we were talking, just the...
Which part?
all of it. Like, I kept going through. Well, originally I was going to ask you what your favorite dinosaur was, but you might not be as big of a dinosaur dork as me. So
I know. I'm like, I'm terrible with the names. The one with the long neck because of Land Before Time.
Oh.
But I don't know the name.
Stegosaurus?
There you go.
My actual question, though, and I'm debating on 2 of them in my head right now because
let's do both of them.
Have multiple conversations in my mind all at the same time. Okay.
Yeah.
So the first question is what you're reading right now, and the second question is what is the oldest movie that you actually like watching? Again,
the oldest movie. Okay. Well, the book I'm reading right now, in the Bible I'm reading Proverbs, and I just started a new book called The Law of Kindness. I forget who it's by. Mary Becker, I think is her name. So I'm really interested in that because I need help being kinder. I suck at being kind. So I need to. I'm like, goodness. What wisdom? I need this. This is
what do I need to do to be nice to people? Please help me.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
It's like, and you notice, like for me, it's like I notice that the most with my family or like church, so that I can just instantly like just be unkind, and it's sin. It's just straight up sin. The fall of man. It just comes up in our lives. Yeah.
And I don't with that more now. The medicine that I'm on, like I used to be able to like control my tone of voice and make it sound a lot softer. So whenever I first started taking this medicine, Justin and Kaylee were convinced that I was angry all the time, and I couldn't figure out why they kept asking me what I was mad about. And so Justin finally sat me down and he was like, you sound really stern, like you're getting on to us all the time. And he said, your voice is just like made of rainbows and puppies. So it's like sunshine coming out of your mouth when you talk to us, and now you're not being
you're like black clouds.
I know. And I was like, I didn't even notice that at all. So I had to like readjust to make sure that I was using the proper tone of voice with people. So right. Like, good morning. What do you want for breakfast?
Right.
Good morning. Are you hungry? Can I just, so there's just like a big difference, I guess, in my tone of voice now. So yeah, I need that book. Never had to worry about it before.
Yeah. I don't know how I found it. How did I find it?
Kind of cool.
I don't even know. I think I think Justin Peters might have mentioned her.
Oh, cool.
Okay. I think that's how I heard about it. She's a missionary in South America JP. Somewhere. Yeah, JP.
What?
So
thanks, JP.
Love JP.
JP. Okay, so what about
the oldest movie? I'm trying to think. I want to say The Wizard of Oz, but I also loved all the Shirley Temple movies, like growing up.
Yeah, she had curly hair too.
Yeah, she had curly hair. Yeah, and oh my gosh, I loved her in Bluebird. Which is the studio. I think MGM. She was actually supposed to do The Wizard of Oz.
Oh, wow.
And instead they gave her this other, because she just doesn't have that voice that Judy Garland has. And so the music composers but they wrote the songs specifically for Judy. So there was like this little bit of conflict. And so they were like, okay, well, we're going to make this other, movie called Bluebird. And I really like it. It's not as good in terms of, how The Wizard of Oz is. I mean, it's just hands down, The Wizard of Oz is considered one of the greatest movies of all time.
Yep.
So but Bluebird, it's so like, she's not a very kind character, and she goes through this whole process of a journey that I find really interesting. How about you?
Breakfast at Tiffany's.
Oh, I love Breakfast at Tiffany's.
I was obsessed with that as a teenager, and I had Audrey Hepburn posters, and
I love Audrey.
I did. Yeah, I was obsessed with her and Elvis Presley.
And Elvis Presley. Nice.
I
love Audrey though. I love how she dressed. Like it's so
that's why I loved
it.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that movie for her clothing. It took me a long time because even as a teenager, I was very young-minded. My older sister really kept me protected from some of sort of the sexualization of teenagers that happens. She really kept that kind of away from me, and so I was very young-minded. I think the first few years that I watched that movie, I didn't really understand what was happening.
Right.
As an adult, I went back and watched it, and I was like, "Oh, this is a little less appropriate than I thought it was."
Right.
I didn't realize what she meant by all of these things that she was saying.
Yeah. I know. Seriously.
Yeah, that definitely was my favorite movie back then.
It has a really great song in it. Moon River is such a sweet song.
I sing that to Kaylee at night. I love that. And I was, at the same time as I was, probably why I ended up loving that movie, and Kate and Leopold at the same time.
Oh yeah, Kate and
the
Leopold.
soundtrack of Breakfast at Tiffany's is played in Kate and Leopold.
Yes.
And at the same time, I was reading and was obsessed with Mark Twain and all of his books. And I was reading
Tom Sawyer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so,
The Adventures of Tom Sawyer.
Yeah, and he's
or
going
Huckleberry.
down Moon River. All of them. Huckleberry Finn and Tom Sawyer. I had all those books. And I mean, like, I destroyed those books. I read them so many times as a teenager. I don't know why. But, like, so once I saw that movie and it was referencing that book and the song, it connected it in my head. And I was like, well, this is now my favorite movie. And that's just how my brain
Yes. And when you're a kid, you bypass a lot of that stuff. And a lot of songs now, I'll be listening to it, like, I'll be like, oh, that's in there? You listen to it as a kid and you don't pick those things up, and you just, or a lot of times we'll be watching a movie and I'll pause and I'll be like, I finally get that joke now, whatever.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yeah. I'm like, especially like
don't.
Clueless. You go back and watch Clueless and you're like, oh my, maybe my parents shouldn't have let me watch that.
Right? Yes.
Like that was pretty much all the movies that we watched. Even Son-in-Law, watching it as an adult now is like, oh boy, glad I missed all of this as a kid.
As a kid, just goes over your head.
Yes, it did. Okay, so I do have the word of the day that I picked for today. I'm really excited about because I should have started with this. This should have been the first word of the day. It's theology.
Oh, yay!
Yay! And I love the word theology because it's broken up into two different Greek words, theos and logos. We all know logos means the word, right? And theos means God in Greek. And so the word together, theology is a word about God.
That's amazing.
So all theology means is just that you're learning about God or you're talking about God. So I don't know why anybody would not like theology. And
I know. So when I used to say that though.
Yeah, I
like
did too all the time. Yeah. I don't care about
that.
theology. I care about my relationship with
That's exactly what I used to say. I don't want to hear about doctrine.
No, don't teach me about doctrine. I just want to hear about emotional things. Yeah. Because I'm just so in love. Gross. No.
Yeah, seriously gross.
I want to learn about theology. Teach me doctrine. It's probably actually why there's such a small amount of women is because of the emotional stuff. But
it's
anyway,
true.
So that's my word. What about a joke? Do you have a joke today?
I don't have any jokes.
I actually have a good joke.
Yay.
This one is on my Instagram already, and my husband sent this one to me. And it's, if you boil a funny bone, it becomes a laughing stock. That's humorous.
That's really funny. If you know anatomy, you will find this really funny.
So Kaylee's shaking her head no. She's, that's not funny, Mommy.
That was really good.
Thank you. That's it for today, Humble Bees. Go watch all the good stuff from Ray Comfort. Don't forget to like, subscribe, rate us if you haven't yet. Give us a good rating wherever you're at, or a bad rating.
Preferably good.
Preferably a good rating. Because that helps us. It helps iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Play, wherever you're listening to us. It helps us go up in the rankings so that people can actually see us. So definitely share, like, all the good things. And that's pretty much it for today, guys. So God bless you all. Y'all have a great day.
Bye, Humble Bees.
Bye, Humble Bees.
Thanks for listening, Humble Bees. This is Tulips and Honey. Over and out.
I think that diamond still needs a little more polish.
Yeah.